So today we're going to work with Mac and collar conditioning him to recall. He is 4 months old and he's really hit that bold confidence stage when we get outside. He likes to run off and not always come back when we call. He has been clicker trained to recall. We use Target here for that. So we've already taught him the cue here using positive reinforcement, and now we're going to overlay with the collar, which is negative reinforcement. Basically, he's going to turn the collar stimulation off by complying with something he already knows, which is the recall. This is a DT Systems collar that we use that has a vibrate feature. So I recommend when you start with a young puppy, having a collar that has that vibrate as an option. It's really easy, low-level stimulation. It's just vibrating like what your cell phone does to work with the recall, as well as I still overlay with some treats. I'm going to just use a little bit of kibble, which is his dog food, as a reward for coming to me, as well as the conditioning process of him feeling the collar. So first I'll get him over here. Mac. Good boy. So when you put the collar on, we're going to try and keep him calm while we do this because we want good collar manners. Settle down. So you want the collar to be able to fit snugly, which is sometimes one of the reasons we wait till they're a little bit older to start this process so that the collar will actually fit them. Get it cinched up. He's standing there nicely. If he would be flailing and fighting me, I'd settle him down first so that it's not a constant battle that we're going to start this process fighting to put a collar on. As he gets older, then we'd continue just having to fight that process as he gets older and older, and as he gets bigger, the fight will be harder to deal with. So we want to make sure that we can have a couple fingers fit under that collar, but that's about it. For tightness, those contacts, we won't most likely be using any stimulation today, just the vibrate, but when we get to the point where we're using stimulation, we need those contacts to actually make a good contact. Now, if he starts choking or something and coughing, he's choking and coughing because he was eating a stick at the moment. Get all that out of there. But if he would be choking and coughing, I'd say, okay, we probably have the collar on too tight. Now, with this collar specifically, the antenna actually runs through the entire strap. So I'm just tucking that up out of the way. I don't want to cut that short because that's going to limit our range on the collar. If you do have a collar that doesn't have an antenna that runs through the strap, you can cut it. I would just keep in mind that he's going to keep growing, so don't cut it too short because you're going to need that collar to be big enough as he grows. So we're going to let him go. Okay. He can run around, and then I'm going to use the collar. He's going to feel vibrate, and I'm going to call him back. Mac, Mac. So he's feeling the collar. He's like, whoa, what is that? He's going to keep feeling the collar. Good. Until he gets all the way to me. And then he's also getting a treat reward. So as soon as he got to me, I let go of the button, so the collar vibration shut off. And then he also got rewarded with a little treat. So, okay. I'm going to let him get up and run around again until he's away from me. Then he's going to feel the collar again. Mac. Collar's on. Mac. Collar's off. So I had the collar or the transmitter up when he was feeling the vibration, and then I held it down when I had turned it off, just so that you can get a visual on when he's feeling the collar, when he's not, since obviously you can't hear it vibrate or feel it vibrating at this moment. So I'm going to try and let him just wander off a little bit. And then I will call him back to me. Mac. Good. So he's coming to me, and then he's getting a treat. We don't have to use treats and rewards at the same time, but he's a little puppy, and I want to keep his focus and his excitement to work for me. Gonna let him wander off again. Again, we keep our sessions fairly short. He's gonna start not wandering off quite as far when he starts to understand that he's going to feel the collar pretty much as soon as he does. And then we try and do our first collar conditioning sessions in a fairly enclosed environment where we have control of the situation. He's in our backyard, it's fenced in, so if he would try and run off, he's not going to get very far. Another place that you can start this process that would be a good option is in your house down a hallway. He's got a pretty concise path that he needs to be on when you're calling him. We don't have that option in our house to be able to film it at the same time, so I thought the backyard would be a good place for him. As well as in the house, he's really cooperative, so I wouldn't necessarily know that he's actually responding to the collar. He might just be doing the recall because that's what he feels comfortable doing. So right now he's over here laying, well, he was just laying down. He's a puppy, so he moves really fast and changes what he's doing really quickly. So he's running over there with his stick. He's gonna lay down with it, and now I'm gonna just call him to me. Matt, good boy, good. So I'm gonna take the stick from him. Oh, I had this still up, it wasn't still on. Sorry, I got distracted myself about what I was doing. There we go, because I was trying to get that stick away from him before I fed him his treat. Okay. If you have a partner that you can play recall back and forth with, that works really well too. Ethan's not here right now. He's guiding in South Dakota, so I can't recall with him. And then I got Jess, my camera lady, so she can't help me with this situation either. But if you have somebody that you can call your puppy back and forth with, one of you would be running the transmitter while the other of you just does calling to him. So he's running off again. Matt! Good boy. So that time he kind of bounced me. That's not really behavior I want to encourage, that running and leaping and jumping into me. So next time I'm going to anticipate that he might jump at me like that so that I can prevent him from doing that. So we don't condition the recall and the jump bounce me as part of that process. I want to condition the recall where he comes to me but not jumps up at me. Something else that you can do when you're doing recall with your puppy is get down like I have been into an inviting position. Your puppy's just going to naturally want to come to you in those situations. You're not intimidating, you're down on their level. But because he's been bouncing me, I'm going to try the recall this time by standing up. I haven't called him yet, he's just running around with a stick again. You and your sticks, man. So he isn't feeling the collar yet. He's really focused on me at the moment, so I want to wait until he kind of wanders off. Wanders off with a stick. That's fine. So this time I'm going to call him back to me. Matt! But I'm going to stay standing. Matt. So he's still feeling the collar. Matt. Good. So he felt the collar until he got all the way to me, which when I wasn't down in this inviting position, he did a little more skirting me. So that means to me that he's feeling the collar, not necessarily 100% understanding how to shut the collar off yet. He gets coming in the general direction, but he's not shutting the collar off by coming to me yet. In that situation, it just means he needs more conditioning so that we start to understand that, hey, you have to get all the way to me to shut this collar off, as well as we may be able to start using some stimulation with him, so that he feels a little bit more of the collar, because vibrate isn't a huge deterrent to him. He can ignore it. Obviously, he's running around me in a circle, ignoring the vibrate, going, oh, this isn't that bad. Where if I need a little more, once he's conditioned a little bit more, I can use stimulation, and if he's ignoring a 1, then I turn it up to a 2. We always use the lowest level of stimulation necessary to get the response we're looking for. But I need to make sure that he's understanding that we're shutting the collar off by coming to me before we can add extra stimulation. Because if he feels that and he doesn't know what to do about the situation, he's just going to act frantic and kind of run around like, what do I do? What do I do to shut this off? So I need to condition the process a lot more before I can move to just throwing stimulation in there. So, okay. We'll see if we can get a few more repetitions here. So he came to me a lot better that time, still munching on his stick. Good boy. I'm going to let him run away again. Back. Good. So we use target here when we clicker train the puppies. So I'm giving him that target of my hand, I'm dropping that down, so he comes in, he knows to touch that because we've taught that using positive reinforcement and clicker training before. So now, even though I'm still putting that target down, he knows to come in and touch that because it's something he already knows, and then he's learning to shut the collar off by doing that behavior. Okay. more sticks. So I haven't called him yet. He's just kind of making a loop. I'm going to let him wander off a little bit more. Collar conditioning isn't something that's going to happen in a day. Typically, it takes, every dog is different. Calling me, we'll have to call them back. Sometimes it depends on your dog, but sometimes it'll take a couple days for him to get a pretty good solid understanding. Sometimes it'll take a dog a week to get a solid understanding of how to shut the collar off. And the higher the distracting situation, so the backyard, like we said, is a really closed environment. In this situation, there's not as many distractions. I mean, he's chewing on sticks and things like that, but there's no birds to chase, no other dogs to distract him. So here, he's responding to the vibrate pretty regularly, pretty well. Now, when we get to the point where we have higher distractions, we want to make sure that he is fully collar conditioned before we expect him to still be able to recall in those situations. Because if he comes when you call in a non-distracted situation, and then you go into a distracting situation, vibrate's not going to mean enough for him to ignore what he'd rather do, of chase a bird, play with the other dogs. So we need him to understand that the vibrate and the stimulation, which will come later, is the same thing, that he needs to turn that off by coming to us when we call. So we'll try one more. He's wandering off here. Mac! Mac! So he feels the vibrate. Yeah. So he's still feeling vibrate, and then he gets to me and it shuts off. So he had to do a little parade around me. When we work on this and continue to condition him, we're going to want this to become more direct. It's, you're out there, you feel the collar, you hear me call, you come directly back, which typically involves using a little more stimulation because it makes the situation a little more urgent that I want to shut this pressure off, this collar stimulation off by doing what she's asking right away. I can't ignore it because it's enough of an annoyance that I want to do what she's asking and shut this off as soon as possible. Right now, the vibrate's still something that isn't a huge deterrent for him, but it's a conditioning process. One more time, and then we'll call it good for Mac's session today. Mac! Mac. So, again, I didn't shut the collar off until he got to me. Get the sticks out of your mouth, buddy. But let us know if you have any questions in the comments section,